Hey guys, today I am taking a look at Far Cry, the original. This was kind of a weird game to kind of get into, simply because I think most people are familiar with the Far Cry series as it is now and as it exists. But going back to the first game, it is very, very different. It's very, very rough. There's very little story. I know this game got quite a few remasters and remakes. It was kind of, I believe, mainly designed for PC and eventually came to like 360 and things like that with like a newer, updated version of the game. And so, it's really kind of, again, going backwards into a game's catalog. It's kind of like, what are we getting here, but more so, what are we missing? Pretty much everything else this year. There's leaning. I don't remember if that was in. I think they got rid of that in like Far Cry 2, I think, or somewhere along the line. I forget where. But yeah, there's leaning. But yeah, you still have sprinting, running, gunning, same old stuff on a deserted island. And this one is the most, I would say, of the element that it's trying to go for. There's really very no story. You basically just land on this island, and like, no, the guys at the Ubisoft are like, okay, what if you landed on an island and you had to, survive using the bullets and the kind of what do you call it? The ability to augment your DNA using syringes. And if I recall, the 360 version actually had a multiplayer version, so they had like this head-to-head thing, which was honestly just awful, terrible. These oversized maps, you could never find anyone, and yeah, you would use syringes, and there was bloom everywhere. And the one thing that, again, I mean, this game has a lot of features, I guess, that you would be interested or surprised to see that were in the future games. Things like, the ATV, the boat, vehicles, the general Jeep with, the 50 cal in the back. Even though it's incredibly simple, it's still kind of here. It reminds me of the day, or, the time when game developers really focus a lot more on functionality and features rather than making the game just look good. But yeah, you have your typical array of weapons from, pistols to assault rifles, shotguns. Something that's interesting is that the marking feature is actually still in this game, even all the way back here. So that's kind of like a core idea. The really core aspect when I think of modern Fallout games is, what did I say? Far Cry games, is that you basically, find an encampment with a bunch of guys with guns, mark them all, and then take them out. And that kind of basic underlying skeleton has really pervaded the entire series, since then, really. And so, part of this game was, the hardest difficulty setting was realistic, and the idea was that, only a real badass can survive on. What if we made a real life scenario where you're really on an island and you were trying to survive? And so that whole aspect of survival and realism in a video game, is something that was at the heart of Far Cry for, I guess, a long, long while before it became just about, completely ridiculous buying upgrades and sliding around the map and, using platforming ridiculous techniques. Even though this game doesn't have a story, it feels like it kind of has more story than Far Cry 2. Far Cry 2 is just very odd. Again, it was like an upgraded technical version of this. But the story is like there's this guy called the Jackal, and you have to go find him, and that's pretty much it. And you've also been infected with malaria. And this one, it almost feels like there's more of it, even though there technically are less cutscenes because you're on an island trying to survive, and there's like different points where you find different encampments, and it has a nice kind of flow. It has a plot, I would say. Well, Far Cry 2, you just go to random things of the map. They just place things in the map and say, all right, like total sandbox, talk, just good. Here's the map, just go and find stuff and do the thing. And most things are completely repetitive, but at least in Far Cry, there's some good variety to the island. The way it's laid out, there's a good layer of how would I call it, a good layer of understanding, how the bases are laid out. Everything's like kind of laid out with some kind of reason. There's some kind of identity or a reason or design principle taking place here when they mapped out the jungle and the forest, and all, the rest of the map. Of course, there are also animals at which you can shoot. They're very few. And again, another thing I find with these earlier games is that the sound design is really nice. So like the sounds of like all the ambience that you would kind of just expect in a run-of-the-mill game like this are just very crisp and just very detailed. But yeah, there's really not much else here to say. It's just a running, gunning shooter that at times is very, very broken. There are times when, the enemy's truck will, kind of get stuck in a wall and won't be able to move. You can just hide out in like a little cabin and just shoot people through a little crack in the wall. That kind of old school stuff that just came with broken yet, ironically quality games. But yeah, I don't really think I can recommend this just because I don't know, any of the Far Cry games are almost better, and this is kind of a nice little time capsule to see what it was like. But when there's no story and there's no improved mechanics and there's no improved graphics, it really is just a time capsule. There's really nothing super engaging or interesting to get into here, but I thought I'd cover it anyway. Anyway, guys, that's pretty much all I got to say about this one, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.